Okay, so have you ever like gotten ready for a big race, and you only practice on like flat ground,
Oh, yeah.
and then you show up and bam, a huge hill.
Right. Yeah. Been there.
It's like, whoa, I didn't train for this. And just like our bodies can over prepare, so can our minds. We can get stuck in these mental patterns, that just don't surface anymore.
And that's exactly what we are going to be diving into today. Overfitting, it's a concept from the world of machine learning. Yeah, it basically means that, like a model can get so good at memorizing data that it fails when it's given something new, something it hasn't seen before. And you know what? Humans do this too.
They do. So wait, are you saying our brains are like kind of like computers getting stuck in these like mental loops?
In a way, yes. Like, think about it. We all have those moments where we cling to past successes, or even past failures, and it ends up holding us back from trying new things or seeing new possibilities.
Okay, that's kind of freaky, but also fascinating. So in this deep dive, we're going to be like really exploring this whole overfitting thing, like how to spot it in our own lives, and more importantly, like how to break free.
Absolutely. It's all about becoming more adaptable, more resilient, and ultimately more successful in navigating the ever-changing landscape of life.
I'm into it. So how does this whole overfitting thing actually like, show up in our everyday lives? Like what does it actually look like?
Well, one way is what we might call stuck in old patterns. It's like doing the same thing over and over again just because it worked before, even when it's clearly not the best solution anymore.
Right, right. Like I have this friend who always orders the same dish at this one restaurant
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
every single time, even though the menu's like changed a million times.
Exactly. They're so attached to what they know that they're missing out on all these new delicious possibilities.
Like their taste buds are overfitting to that one dish.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just food. It could be a work strategy, that used to be super effective, but now it's holding you back. Or it could even be a relationship pattern that's no longer serving you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that's stuck in old patterns. What else?
Another one is ignoring the bigger picture. It's that thing where you get fixated on one tiny detail, like one negative comment or one small setback, and you let it like totally overshadow all the positive stuff that's happening.
Ugh, yes. It's like when you get one bad review online and suddenly you forget about all the happy customers you had.
Exactly. You're over-indexing on that one data point, and completely missing the bigger picture.
Oh, I am so guilty of that one. Like my brain just like zooms in on the negative stuff.
It's a common human tendency, unfortunately. But the thing is, it can really distort our perception of reality and prevent us from making good decisions.
Okay, so we've got stuck in old patterns and ignoring the bigger picture. What's next?
This one is huge, struggling with change. Like when our routines or jobs or relationships change and we just like totally freak out.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like we resist the change, even though it might be good for us in the long run.
Right, like our internal model of how things should be is so rigid that we can't adapt to new circumstances.
Ooh, I feel like that one hits close to home for a lot of people.
It does, and it can be especially challenging, if we've built our whole identity around a certain role or a certain way of life.
Gotcha. So like if your whole sense of self-worth comes from your job and then you lose that job, it can be really hard to bounce back.
Exactly, because your model of yourself has overfit to that one specific situation.
Man, okay, so we've covered three so far. Stuck in old patterns, ignoring the bigger picture, and struggling with change. What's the last one?
The last one is all about holding on to bad predictions. This is when we make these like negative predictions about the future based on, you guessed it, past experiences.
Like if you tried to start a business once and it failed, and now you're convinced you'll never succeed at anything entrepreneurial?
Exactly. You're basically telling yourself, I'm not good at this. I'm always going to fail. And guess what? Those beliefs can become self-fulfilling prophecies.
Oof, that's a scary thought. Like we're literally limiting our own potential by clinging to these negative predictions.
We are. But the good news is we can break free from these patterns.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we retrain our brains so we're not constantly overfitting to the past?
One of the most powerful things we can do is expose ourselves to new and diverse experiences. Like step outside of that comfort zone.
So like try new things, meet new people, travel to new places.
Exactly. It's like cross-training for your brain. The more you expand your horizons, the more adaptable and resilient you'll become.
I love that analogy, cross-training for your brain. It's like hitting the mental gym.
Right. And another important step is to regularly question those old patterns and beliefs that might be holding you back. Like ask yourself, is this belief still true or is this habit still helpful?
It's like giving your mental closet a good decluttering.
Yes. Get rid of anything that's no longer serving you.
And last but not least, what about that whole discomfort thing?
Ah, yes. Well, instead of seeing challenges and discomfort as threats, try to reframe them as opportunities for growth. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, you're essentially stretching your mental muscles and building resilience.
So it's not about avoiding discomfort altogether, but about learning to embrace it as a necessary part of growth.
Exactly. Discomfort is often a sign that you're learning and expanding your capabilities.
Wow, this has been a fascinating deep dive. I think we all have some overfitting to address in our own lives.
We do. So here's a final thought for our listeners. If you could retrain your life model with fresh data and new perspectives, what would you feed it? What new experiences and challenges would you embrace to break free from those old patterns and unlock your full potential?
That's a great question, something to ponder for sure. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into overfitting. It's been eye-opening to say the least.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.